today's lesson, what we have gone over the last couple of weeks is really about understanding structure and understanding what break of structure means, what continuation of that structure means. That's really what we're going to focus on. And what you see on the chart is in a bullish market, and we will draw the downside in just a little bit, but in a bullish market, when price is going up, having a pullback, going up, having a pullback, going up, right? So this is a normal trend of a market. So what that does is every time you have a peak and a valley, so the peak is the highs and the valleys is the lows. So in a strong uptrend, the lows get higher and higher. Every valley is at a higher point than the previous valley. So that just keeps going higher and higher. Every peak is higher and higher. So that's really a nice bullish structure. And in a bearish structure, it's exactly the reverse, which we can draw in just a second. And what you're looking for is a significant area of value. If you remember from a couple of weeks ago when we were doing some homework, you identified the zigzags, right? Which is the peaks and the valleys. That's what really the zigzags are about. Once you identify those, you also identified support and resistance areas, right? For simplicity, I just used the peaks and valleys as support and resistance. And when you come to a support and or a resistance, that's an area of value. So you push up, you have a pullback. Is this significant support based on looking left, right? In the past, has that been support? You want to pay attention to that. That makes it a significant area of value. From there, we push up again, pull back, push up. So this is the basic concept of understanding structure. Sometimes you get a curveball. What I mean by that is you have higher highs, but you also have lower lows. This is not a smooth, clean, bullish movement like the previous chart. This is still a bullish move because when you're looking left to right, it's still going from low to high. But in the middle, somewhere, there was a hiccup, let's just say, so a deeper valley. That deeper valley does not get negated as long as you continue to make higher highs. Where you want to be careful is once you get a deeper pullback, that's a sign of caution. So this is where we start drawing other possibilities. Any questions so far? Okay. And this eclipse areas, just take note. This is where you validate your entry. You must have a 1, a 2, and a 3 before you enter. And you enter here, which is technically a 4 when you break the 2. When you break the 2. But, let's just not get too ahead of 4 entries. But let's think about that. So now, let's evaluate what a break of structure is, right? So far we've seen just continuation. Break of structure, I think it's easier if I draw it on this other chart because I can easily draw a zigzag. Hopefully it pulls up quickly here. So if there are any questions, feel free to stop me along the way. So we'll use this blank space to draw a zigzag, right? To draw our structure. So if you have a nice structure going up, right? Just a nice structure going up, higher highs, higher lows, but then all of a sudden you make a lower low. If you make a higher high, that's fine. That's a continuation. But if you make a lower high and make another lower low, right, and then you continue this trend, now you have break of structure. It is no longer going up. It has started to go down. So this area here, your first low, before you got the lower low, when you compare this two and you get a lower low, you said, oh, time to be careful. What is going on? I have a lower low. So where would I potentially enter? So this is where the 1, 2, 3 comes into the picture. As soon as you have the first lower low and lower high, yes, you could attempt to enter here, but usually in Manu, this is what we've done last time. We say we put a 1. A 1 means I have my first opposite direction is a lower low, lower high or higher low, depending on which side you're going. So this 1 represents the first lower high. We've had higher high, right? Highs has been going up. The first on the opposite direction, right? After you break this low. So that's your 1.
Wouldn't you put the 1 on the previous low though? Instead of because of this is an upward structure and then we're breaking to the bulls. So wouldn't 1 be where you have the lower low?
So I think it's a matter of preference. I don't think it'll be right or wrong. For me, this is my entry, really the entry confirmation, right, comes right here. This is where the entry confirmation comes. So I have my first lower high, and then I get a lower low, and then another lower high. At the break of 2 is where I want to enter. Now, Mani, what you said is not wrong. What you said is absolutely right, because you can say, well, I did have my first lower low. I want to count this as 1. If you count this as 1, your 1, 2, 3s would be a little different, but they'll both be right. So this would be your 1A. I'm using just the A to differentiate between the two. So you'd be a 2A, and then a 3A. So if you do it this way, your entry comes sooner.
Yeah.
Your entry is at the break of 1. The way I am doing it is I just want confirmation that this is not a fake. Like this, sometimes they trap retailers. They make you think, oh, we've broken the structure, we want you in, just to immediately reverse it. So for that purpose, I am more comfortable. After I see the opposite, right, the lower low, I keep the 1 here and I enter down here. You're entering early, I'm entering at a more probable position. Both are right, right? Both are right. It's a matter of decision and how nimble you want to be. Because I don't want to monitor the trade on minute by minute, I prefer the more confirmed, right? I continue to have lower highs. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So if anybody wants to take a screenshot, I'll just wait a second, and then I will draw the other side break of structure.
Yeah, Nat took it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we can delete everything that we have drawn here, just to remove complexity. So same thing to the downside. You're having lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and all of a sudden you have a higher high and a higher low, right? So you are in a downtrend, you are breaking that downtrend. And so here again, you can have your one here or you can have your one here. Preference. If the one is up here, then you have to enter right when you break the one, the next time you come back there. But if your one is up here, then you enter when you break the two. So that's the only difference. So for added confirmation, this is my preference, right? Step one, I have to have a higher high. Step two, I have to have a higher low to confirm, okay, now we're starting to head in the right direction. Then I form a higher high. Now I'm ready to enter, but to enter, I need a pullback. I don't chase. The reason why I say I don't chase is if you enter right before it makes a two and then it pulls back, you're gonna panic. What if it pulls back very deep, right? So that's why you wait for confirmation. We'll talk about the real confirmations, later. What makes you believe that this is the end of the pullback, and so that you can continue the way up. So now that you have identified your 1, 2, 3s, then you draw a line at your 2, and after 3, the next time it comes to 2, that's where you enter. Right? So structure down, and as soon as you have higher highs and higher lows, that structure is broken. This is what I mean by broken structure. Structure is broken. Now you can take that other side of the position. Whereas in this images, it's a continuation, right? There's no break of structure. Yes, you can assume that maybe this is down, but maybe this is up. But in this continuation, every time you have a pullback, the peak is a potential entry. You have a pullback, the peak is a potential entry. Not the first time, but when it gets back there. This peak is a potential entry. This peak is a potential entry. When price gets back there. You have your pullback. When price gets back there, here, you enter. Price pulls back. When price gets back up here, you enter. So just keep that in mind, right? So continuation, break of structure, the entry is the same. It's just a matter of where your 1, 2, 3s are. Always have your 1, 2, 3s ready. Then you can have your entry. So in the case of continuation, your 1 is really your peak. Your 2 here, there's really not a 3. Your 3 is your entry. Or if you say this is just the start of a bullish run, in the case of a reversal, this becomes your 1. But otherwise, you can just say, hey, every time I have a peak, I'm entering. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right.
Good. Yes.
So
I just wanted to add, this is a little confusing for me when we first started.
Okay.
If we can go back to the SPY graph.
Okay.
The chart.
Yeah.
One thing that was confusing for me is it has to be 2 criteria in order to satisfy a continuation. So if you're saying a breakout structure going upwards, so a bull run, so it has to be, you see there, like after the break off, after the last lower low, it has to be a higher high. So it has to be right before that. You see how right there. So the break off has to be higher than the previous high. So that's satisfied. But not just that, it also has to be, the next low has to be higher than the previous low. So if it's just a higher high, but not a higher low, wouldn't necessarily satisfy, right, as a breakoff structure. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, so if this was down here, right, you wouldn't treat this as breakoff structure. Even when you have this high, you want to wait for this confirmation, right? You have to have, because you continue to have lower lows. So you want to have those lows start to raise up for the breakoff structure from bearish to bullish, right? But that's a good question. Now here's another scenario why this one is better than putting the one up here. What if this is lower high? What if it's like this? If it's a lower high, you would think there's still continuation, but then you don't make a lower low. So here's your 1, here's your 2, here's your 3, here's your entry. In this scenario, there is no other 1, because this high is lower than this high. So you cannot say, hey, when I break this 1, let me enter. You can, but that's not the high probability entry, if that makes sense, right? So this is why I prefer, whether this is here or here, I prefer to have the higher low as my number 1. Then I can just use the same pattern for both, and I have the same safety for both. I have that confirmation. Of course, area of value, right? Area of value. Is this area, was it support in the past? Was it resistance in the past? When it made this higher low, if it was a good area of support, I'm confident that, okay, this is a good one. And up here again, when it makes this 3, is it a good area of value? It's been there a few times. Yes, I'm comfortable. Right? This is why it's a combination, right? It's not just drawing your structure. It's also adding the area of value.
And then, real quick, when in this scenario,
yeah.
So imagine if we were going down. So your entry for year 1 for you, instead of a lower or a higher low, it would be a lower high, right, for you, instead of a lower low. Or
no.
If a breakoff structure going down, if we can draw that one.
So can you ask your question in this way, or do you want me to draw it the other way around?
No, I can probably just ask it in this way.
Okay.
So if we can just imagine, like, if this was upside down.
No. From here, like the same question applies. Whether you're going up or down.
Yeah. So I guess my point was, like, on here, your 1 didn't change regardless of
this point.
One was a higher high or a lower high.
Yes.
Essentially, it became, like, insignificant. So I think I answered my own question.
So
I think I need to see it when it's pointing downwards, just so I can.
If it's up here and you get both of these, you'll be very comfortable. But if it's down here, you don't know that there's breakoff structure until you see a higher high. And this higher high is compared to this, not to the ones to the left, it's to the immediate peak to the left, right? The immediate peak.
Yeah. Would your numbering change at all? But
no.
Would you keep it the same?
It's the same, because here's my first higher low from the price is bearish. It kept making lower lows. I want to see a higher low. To me, that's more important than seeing a higher high. Because I could have a higher high and this guy could go down here. Right? I'm not interested in breakoff structure in this scenario. I want to see a higher low if it's bearish. If it's bullish, I want to see a lower high. That's very important to me.
Okay.
Okay, we will draw those again, right? So I want to wait until you're comfortable with this so I can draw the reverse. Or we can just leave it there for now. Maybe I can just draw it. So if you're going higher, right, you're making higher highs. All of a sudden, you make a lower high and you start going down. Okay? So the first time that this structure appears to be broken is when you make a lower high. Not a lower low. This could be down here. That's not the first sign. The first sign is when you are struggling to go above that direction. Right? You're struggling to continue to push up. Same scenario here. You're struggling to continue to push down. Right? That's your first real indication that price is now considering reversing. So here, it's not the lower low. I'm more interested in the lower high because this tells me the bears are stepping in. They don't want to let the bulls be in charge. So this is my one. This is my first indication that this structure is about to be broken. If I don't see the right side, if it stops at 1 and this guy goes like this, then I have no trade. Because now, this is just a consolidation, right? Both sides are fighting each other. There's equilibrium. But if I see a 1 and I follow that by a 2, which means now I have a lower low and I have another lower high. Now this says, okay, I have 2 lower highs and I have 1 lower low. I'm comfortable. I'm ready. This is where I want to enter. The next time price comes back here. Right? So 1, 2, 3 happens, then I can enter. So 1, 2, and 3 must happen. And your 1 is really the opposite direction. Right? Is it a lower high? Yes, that's a 1. Then I wait to see what is going on outside of that. After I have a lower high, I want a lower low. Before that, it doesn't matter because price can do anything before that. So here, whether this is here or here, it doesn't matter. But as soon as I have a lower high, I raise a flag. Hey, be prepared. Something is about to happen. I get a lower low. Now, in this drawing, it has to be lower, right? It has to continue to be lower. If this is like this. So I get a lower low. Very good. I have my number 2. I get, again, another lower high. That's my 3. So where do I enter? The next time I break this. Right? This is where I enter. It's going to take a little bit of practice, right? You guys have to do this homework multiple times. That's why your zigzags, right? Those structures stay on your chart, and then you identify your 1, 2, 3. Let me attempt to enter. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.